like you're ready.
Ready for what?
Why don't you start just by telling how you got how you got involved in the trucking business?
Well, he needs to tell you that.
Why?
Because you got
I
involved
want to hear
in it.
your version of it.
No, you tell yours.
Really?
No.
I want to hear your version of it.
No. Stupidity. You're a dumbass.
Okay, I'm starting.
I want to tell the story because he started it.
All right, now.
You bought tracks.
What do you want me to tell?
Well, that you made a stupid mistake.
That I made a stupid mistake. Well, how did you didn't have no part in that?
No.
You didn't have none in it.
I went with you and looked at the track.
Yeah.
I didn't know nothing about tracks.
Okay, well, why don't you start on that? To start about when you first, that he asked you to go with him and look at trucks.
God, Carlette, you tell it. Because I don't know.
He'll just correct you. I'm just kidding.
Yes, he will. You tell
All right.
it.
Well, to get you, since I already got him started, to get you started talking, why don't you just start talking about, like, where you're born, where you grew up?
No.
I'll tell them about Hillong Fork.
That would be a comedy.
She was born way up in the sticks.
I was born a poor black child.
Oh, Lord. Be serious.
All right, well,
about
how about if we start talking about when you first got worried about safety issues with trucks then, or like when you met Roy and what you were, how you got into that?
Who do I look at?
Look at me, or look at whoever you're talking to.
You don't know that same sob story.
Yeah.
You've heard it a bunch of times.
Well, just start out and tell him. What did get you started on what?
Because I got PO'd.
About what?
Because I sat down every month after month, writing out bills. And I used every calculator in this world, and it just didn't add up. That you worked 100 hours a week, and there wasn't enough money to cover the bills.
Well, I know that, but, I mean...
What do you think, I mean, obviously he's working 100 hours a week. What needs to change to be able to work and pay the bills?
Less weight, fewer breakdowns. Laws need to be enforced.
Raise the rate of pay, to accommodate, kind of keep us in the same money bracket we're in now, but haul less weight is one of the main issues that I think needs to be addressed. I got a lot of fellows just got new trailers and got money and big payments, but they don't want to agree to that. But and they know in their heart that that's what needs to be done, but they just can't. They're afraid it's going to break them if it happens, and probably some it will. It will break some guys till they get the rate of pay adjusted to where they can survive. But in the long run, it would make trucking a lot better thing.
But their means of survival are risking people's lives.
Well, the rate of pay, you have to break the law, you have to be illegal, and you have to haul overweight.
Is it worth that extra $90 that you make on a day when you lose a life?
No. When somebody gets killed, it's a tragic thing, but there's no way to, that I see is to work on the safety issues, is the weight has to be addressed as well as the lighting, and keeping the trucks up. I know it's an important part, keeping the trucks up, but now the truck don't have to be in there good a shape.
That's
if it's not hauling this weight, brakes can be a lot different. When a guy's brakes is in compliance out on the road, I mean he's pulling 80,000 pounds at the gross. When we're out of compliance, stuff's war because we've in a tight budget, and you lined the brake last weekend, you didn't have the money to buy a brake drum, and you didn't buy a brake drum, that truck, it should have had the brake drum on it, but you'll scrimp to try to try to get by, and you'll say, well, that brake drum will make me another pay, make me another set of brake linings, and and it just, there's just not the money there to keep everything up like you should.
Yeah, but these truck drivers will work 16 and 18 hours a day. They come home, they're tired. If their underride guard is missing, or if it needs to be repaired, or if they've got lights out and they need to be operable, they should fix it that night. They put off today what they should have done, and then somebody loses a life. They wait till the weekend when, I've got spare time.
Talk about what got you started writing letters and stuff like that.
Because we were broke. And I'm mad. I'm mad that it's put a strain on my family life. I'm mad that my husband's worked for so many hours for so many years to be broke. I mean, that takes away his pride and dignity. And it makes it complicated to live with you.
Was there a straw that, actually, any particular thing that got you started writing, or did you just think on it long enough that you...
I listen to him.
I mean, all the stuff that she's addressing mainly, a lot of it had to do with listening to me talk about it. I complained it was hauling too much weight, breaking her trucks. I mean, it's just a continuous go when you haul big weight, when you're hauling 70 ton, a payload of 70 ton. I'm not talking about grossing, say 140,000. I'm talking about grossing enough weight in order till you've got 70 ton of payload, and it's just when you haul that kind of weight, there's no end to the damage it's doing every day to a truck. Continuously putting brake shoes on. You're watering bushings out of your suspension, and it's hard to go, and keep everything up. I mean, there's just not enough money, and if the weight was cut down, you don't have to gross as much money if you don't haul that extensive weight. I mean, you can make a lot more less on the day and still come up with more clear money. It's not, if you can make $1 million a year. If you spend $999,000, you made exactly $1. I mean, that's what I say. It ain't what you gross, it's what you clear. I mean, that's what everybody's into it for. They won't. I mean, if they didn't have expectations of doing a little better than just working a job, you wouldn't be there. You'd work a job for somebody else. And there's just no way at what we're clearing. I mean, we're not clearing what a man would make working a job every day. I mean, we've got down to that point. And if you're going to do that, you might as well just get rid of the aggravation and you go work for somebody else.
You were talking about that before, and I kind of started asking you about the sort of the American dream and how that kind of connected with that's what they keep saying. People come to this country so you can own your own business, have an opportunity. Not necessarily always own your own business, but it's a big part of being free, being American. You wanna talk something about that, Kim? What do you think of the American dream, or did you ever think about it, or just sort of dream life?
Well, I didn't have a chance to dream for anything because he got into trucking. That wasn't his dream, turned into be my nightmare. It took a lot of my time. I didn't have the opportunity or the chance to try anything else.
So you learned trucking through the hard way.
Yeah, we started out with not much money.
We started out broke. We bought a truck that was a piece of junk. And when you start out with no money, then you start having extensive parts bills. You're broke before you know. I mean, you're broke before you even get started.
You think you know a lot, because, I mean, I trucked every day and drove for somebody else. And, I thought I know a little bit about trucks. Until you actually own them, you don't understand all they are. I mean, I ain't saying all drivers are unexperienced in this, but now a lot of them really don't know what the whole you know, the whole thing consists of, you know, a lot of other people don't. I mean, time you, I mean, I drove every day and I thought I knowed about trucks, and I did. I mean, until I really got into the whole bottle of wax and got some of my own, and I didn't really understand what all went with it. As far as the government and the states, you know, the state, you know, they're a big part of it, and they take a big part, and I think we ought to get a little more than we're getting of it. We're paying a lot of taxes, and I think we deserve a big part of this tax money that we're given, you know. I think we're entitled to a little more of it in Eastern Kentucky especially. Eastern Kentucky is being a big part of Kentucky's revenue, you know, towards the coal severance taxes and everything that we have to pay, the truckers has to pay, road usage tax and stuff like that. Eastern Kentucky has been a big part of that, and it seems like we've been forgotten on a lot of other stuff, you know. I ain't saying every law I agree with in the trucking is right. You know, and I ain't saying it out. You know, everything needs to be enforced, but a lot of the lighting issues, visibility of trucks, I think that needs to be addressed, and this weight needs to be addressed. And I think you'll see the trucks being taken care of if we can get a lighter weight, not have to pull so much, and you'll see these trucks being taken well care of. There's a lot of companies out here that are bigger are taking care of their trucks, you know, and they look good, and they are taking care of them. But then there's a lot out here who, you know, they've made a few bad decisions, and when they make a bad decision, it gets to the point that they can't, you know, keep up everything like they want to. I mean, anybody just wants their truck, you know, anybody owns trucks, they want theirs to look the best, but you can't, you know. I mean, that was their dream when they went into it. They was gonna have a pretty truck, something they could be proud of. But you know, when you can't do it, you can't do it. You know, sometimes.
So who controls the haul rates? Like how would they raise? What would it take to raise it? Who would have to make the decisions?
Well, you know, naturally the market's got something to do with getting any raises. You know, market has been down bad, but right now market's probably up what best it's been since the coal one. At the moment, some people says it'll stay, some people says that it won't be long, it'll drop right back down. But if they don't find another source of electricity, you know, you got California in a power shortage, and they can't buy enough power, and you know, they're right now getting back on their feet out there about that situation there. And if they don't, you know, if they stay away from nuclear, and you know, and they keep burning the coal, which I think they will, because I believe our president right now, they will see that there's a lot of coal still kept in the economy, and you know, naturally that's got a big part to do with it. When everybody else is struggling, you know, when the big companies are having not a profit margin that they're used to, and they get cut down, naturally they're gonna squeeze everybody else. But now it's come up, and the rate of coal has, you know, the price of coal's come up, and I think the truckers deserves a part of it, not just the companies, you know. I mean, their profit comes back up, and we ain't seen it yet. And I don't know how long it'll take if we see any or not. And we've got to see it. Naturally, we're gonna get a little raises. Some of the hauls that starts new, you know, the guys are gonna say, well, you know, there's not a abundance of trucks as they've been in the past couple of years. You know, they'll get a few more jobs, and the demand for the trucks will be a little greater, so we'll get a little raise. But I think the weight needs to be brought down, and stay at the same money. I don't think we need more money. That's not the object. I know naturally you want to make everything you can, but the gross would be enough if the weight was cut down. The gross would be enough that we could keep them up and keep everything going, and still have a good living, make a good living, you know. And actually a man wants to make a little better living than he can working for somebody else.
That's the whole idea.
You you know, that's the
Of
whole
the extra
idea
headaches.
of being even in for something for yourself.
You wanna talk some about the headaches with the,
She knows the
What-
headaches.
what the
She was there
headaches are?
about trying to pay the parts bills, and she was there trying to pay the fuel bills. I mean, she'll tell you about them. You know, that's. I mean, you know, the wives a lot of times, if they take any interest in the business, you know, I mean, they get to see all the aspects of trying to pay the bills.
what's that like?
Do you want me to be honest?
As honest as you feel like being.
Tell the truth about it. There's just not enough money to go for everything we have to do.
I just didn't like dealing with the men in parts places. For a woman to be.
Well, that's a part of it, but I mean, you know, just like dealing with the money issue of it. He wants to know, you know, what that's like, you know.
You beg, you plead, you ask nicely, you try to be as nice as possible. You get bill collector after bill collector calling you, demanding money. You're not having any idea when you'll have any promise of making any money. So therefore, they'll say, "Will you post date as a check?" You can't post date a check for 5 years in advance because you could post date it for 2 weeks from now, and then 2 weeks from now you may have a rear end to go out. So therefore, that check bounces. It costs you $20 more. So you end up losing bigger.
Yeah, it's, a lot of times it's simply just not having the money to pay the bills on time.
The
I mean, you know,
interest eats you up when you don't pay payments on time. If you had the money, you would pay it on time. Then they just slap more on you, and you don't have it to start with. If you had it, you would pay them to keep from incurring so much interest.
I mean, when you have a $3,000 payment, if you don't make that thing on time, you get hit hard. I'm talking about, you know, a lot of people looks at a house payment to get hit for $50. But if you're not on, and you know, when your 10-day grace period's up, you know, it's just according to what your house payment is. But when you start looking at hit for $300 for not making a payment on time, it don't take you long to get behind.
No.
Even up to $500. You know, when you get a $4,000 a month truck payment, you know, if you're behind, you look at $500 not making that payment on time. And if you've got a breakdown, what do? You fix the truck so you can run, or do you pay a payment and sit there in the yard? You know, I mean, you've got to fix the truck.
But you know what? You're a man through all this. You got to go out and you got to enjoy conversation with other truck drivers. It kept your mind occupied. I sat at home and thought of ways to try to make things better with no idea in sight. And then bill collector after bill collector after bill collector calling and aggravating you to death, and you not knowing what to say.
Well, you know, like I say, it's a big part of it. The wife takes a big part to the man. He sees some of it, you know, but the wife get aggravated by the like where you buy parts. I mean, we got one guy from Worldwide, and I mean, when you owe Worldwide money, he just practically demands it, and I mean, he'll ride you till you want to pay it. I mean, there's no end, and
That's the first thing on your list.
He licened up though. He dropped her credit line.
Yeah, he dropped her credit line after a while. He had some tough times, and things were slow. He can't blame him for doing his job, and he's good at it.
Oh, I told him one time. I said, "Danny, I said, you are the best employee I have ever seen in my life." I said, "You're awesome." I said, "I've got several people that owes me money. How much would it take for you to come up to my business and call and see if I can get the money that's owed to me?" He just laughed.
Seminar.
But now it's tough way, and it's probably at its toughest right now it's ever been.
I don't care if we ever haul another lump of coal. There was no money in it from the start. I cannot see where it adds up.
So what's your idea of a way out?
try to survive in any other way than hauling coal.
Get another business.
Until the truck's paid for, you have to haul something. It's there. You have to do, and you are confined to hauling in this area because the weight of your truck empty is so extensive. If you were to haul 20 ton, you would be illegal. So therefore, you can't haul in another state and make it because your truck is so heavy you can't haul weight, and they will enforce laws in other states.
Well, the one thing I thought of is that it's kind of like the way the mines used to be back in the 20s and 30s, or stories I've heard about that, where like the miner had to supply his own pick or shovel and was paid per ton. You know, it's like that whole 16 tons and what do you get? It seems like it's similar with the trucking business, where you're providing your own vehicle and making payments on it, but it's, you know, it's 60 tons and what do you get?
Yeah.
70.
Yeah. You get a busted wheel or a busted spoke or a broke spring, and all night's work to try to get ready for the next day. You know, I mean, if you really anymore, I've got to, if I go down, you know, the truck goes down, and you know, which, like I say, I don't know some of the bills that a lot of these boys do, and I just wait till the next day. You know, if it's late evenings, I just quit on it and go on in. Used to, I'd lay there all night if it took it, and you know, I guess, you know, I owed more at that time, or thought I did, you know, but the profit's just not there no more. So why lay out there all night in the cold and get sick, you know, when you can just drag around and miss part of another day and maybe fix it tomorrow and go on, you know, half a day. I just can't bring myself to stay there all night anymore, because it's just, the profit's not there. I mean, used to, I had, my heart was in it. I'd lay there day and night and do all I could do. You just can't have much heart when ain't much profit.
So how old were you when you got your first truck?
I guess about 8 years ago, wasn't it? Something like that. About 28.
Yeah.
You know, I was working for a coal company. Maybe I was working every day, and I don't know. I always just kept doing the figures. You know what? I'd go for the truck and stuff, and I thought that
He would add up as a
Yeah.
driver, and he would come home and he'd say, "This truck made $100 today. Oh, it done so good. If I had my own, I would have all that money to pocket myself." Well, he thought about it, and he thought about it, and he thought about it. Well, finally, he bought a truck. He learned really, really quick that you don't pocket all that money that truck's grossing. You do not pocket 90% of it. Go
I
off.
always thought, you know, there's a whole lot more profit to it than there actually are, and you know, I mean, at first we done all right. There was a little bit of profit come our way, and you know, and I felt like it was worth it. You know, staying right there with it, and I had laid out in zero weather and right outside and work on a truck, putting in spring or whatever, and what a day. I'm not gonna get out there in that zero weather. If I was to miss 2 days work, I'm just not gonna get out there and lay in that weather to you know, to work on that truck, and you know, to save, you know, trying to, you know, gross that day's wage. You know, I can't see it no more.
So basically, you're saying you're giving up?
No, I'm not giving up, but I'm just, you know, I just ain't got the heart that I did have. I mean, that's just, maybe if I could get back into, you know, something with a little more profit and feel you was done a little better, you know, you could exert yourself a little bit more. It's hard to now. I mean, I stay with the best of them, you know, working long hours and work as hard as any. But I've just got to the point that it's tough to stay there if you're not making a profit. I mean,
So what are the biggest bills?
The track payment and fuel bills. Usually that's what when you've got steady income coming in, those are the two you swap out. You'll pay the track payment 1 month, then let it go the next month to be able to pay.
Yeah, when you get a check, you get 2 checks a month, and you'll try to pay a payment on one payday and try to pay the fuel on the next payday. That's the two main ones. But
We owe huge tire bills, and there's just no way we can pay them. I mean, there at the end we got to where we were purchasing tires as we went along instead of putting them on credit, because you can run up tire bills so fast, and the tires around here get eaten up so bad because they put those huge gravels on these roads, and those tires are $450 each. And when you start checking out tires, and you have to put 2 whole rounds of tires on a truck in a year's time, that adds up to a whole lot of money.
well, some of the tractor and trailer tires ain't hardly as expensive. You haul that extensive weight in the heat. Man, if you've got a long run, tires you blow out. I mean, you can blow out new casings. I'm not talking about a tire that's been capped, blowing out. I mean, if you haul this extensive weight, I mean, that's what I can understand. I get out here and I say something about that, and some of these guys gets off aggravated at me for saying anything because of this weight. But if you were pulling 50 ton, is probably, more than where we would even be legal with at the 120,000 pounds, You're looking at in the 40s, in the low 40s. And, some of these trucks, it's on the road out here right now would be in the 30s, And if we could just haul legal and go back to a smaller trailer, I mean, it would just, like in tires, you buy a new tire and you haul 40-some ton, you can run that tire a year and a half. Right now you're running a tire for say 4 months, 5 months, pulling that kind of weight, and you wore that tire out.
That big of a difference, four times longer.
Yeah, I mean, I can't understand the people. I know they got debts. It's the reason they don't want the part of this coming on. But I mean, if it could happen, if we could get that down, 4 times the tire wear and the fuel a day, the consumption of fuel when you pull 20 more ton on the trip or 30 more ton on the trip is so much more. I mean, that truck go up that mountain with the legal load 40-some ton. Your fuel consumption would probably, I know it would come down to say 2/3 of what fuel consumption is with the big load. And I mean, what, just always profit in a man's pocket when he don't do it. And then when the engine, that, I mean, it just falls right on back, and just like an engine overhaul. There's trucks that runs on the road. I'm talking about it pulls 80,000 pounds, no more than 80,000 pounds every day, gets 1 million miles out of the original engine. I ain't saying they all do that because there's limits and everything, but I'm talking about on the average, most of these trucks will run right at 900,000 to 1 million miles on the original engine. When you run a truck on a coal haul every day pulling 70 ton, I have seen engines go down in 2.5 years, and 4 years, you're right at 4 to 5 years, you're looking at an overhaul. I mean, and that's in mileage, you're looking at
Double the cost.
Probably 250,000, 300,000, 400,000 miles you're overhauling that engine, and versus 1 million miles on one running on the road.
We'll stop just for this train. I didn't realize the track's that way.
Yeah, right by the house.
It don't even bother me no more. Well, you don't until it goes by.
How many they run a day?
I don't know. I don't even pay attention to it anymore.
It's not trains really going by. What they do is the temple's right here, and they just shove them back up in here, and then they have to go around.
Kind of move them.
Yeah, move them around.
Yeah, it's not
Oh, I see. This is just the
sidetrack.
Yeah, so they did load 2 trains at a time.
They only go out that way, right?
Yeah, in order to get enough orders out to get 2 trains out here a day with the other coal companies that's down Shelby Creek, they have to
Bring me
bring
that
2
bog.
trains. They have to bring 2 trains up in.
Not yet.
And
Hurry.
That way the second train can be loaded.
What?
Before you're done, I just wanted to quickly ask, you started talking about the costs, and that the fuel and the truck payments were the biggest costs. I was just wondering if you could just.
We are,
real
just a
quick,
minute, just
before
wait.
Hey, I'm pretty much about got all the questions I can think of right now to ask, but I did
Well,
want to get you to
Yeah,
talk
if
just a
you
little
want
more
to
about
go,
that
go
cost.
into the insurance costs, and go into the TARs, and then go into the,
How much money did we even make a half at one time?
well, we have hit some pretty good money in a half, you know, I mean, I can, gross,
We still can never manage to get caught up.
no, even run sometimes 3 or 4 trucks. You got-
Haul another extra
Yeah,
load
yeah, I'm
tonight.
going.
Haul another load, haul another load. Make some extra money. Well, the more loads you haul, the more fuel you're going to use, the more brakes you're going to wear out, the more tires you're going to wear out, the more you're going to have to pay a driver if you've got employees. So, what's the point in making more money if more money's going to go out? It just doesn't make sense. Extra load of coal is going to mean quicker breakdowns. It's going to be more tires. So, the more money you make, the more money you're going to have to spend out. So, it's as broad as it is long.
Yeah, talk about the insurance and the there's licensing fees and road taxes
Well,
that go along with
you got road taxes there to order, you know, road usage tax. Then you've,
Heavy
got-
usage tax every year, $22.90 of $550 per year per
yeah,
truck.
that's at $22.90, that's what you have to pay before you can even, you know, tag or anything, you have to pay $500 up front.
That's the extended weight sticker?
No,
Is that what
that's not
2290 is, or is
no.
that the IFTA, or is that
No,
different?
it's
No,
just a
that's
heavy
just for
usage
your
tax.
Heavy usage
It's a
tax, that's what
nationwide.
That's
Okay.
nationwide, you know, everybody's, in the United States has to pay that before you can tag. But,
And what else do you have to do to get it licensed and insured?
then time you go pay your property tax, you know, just like everybody does, you know, in the state of Kentucky, pay the property tax on the truck, and then you go in, and then you buy your tags, which is around $1,200, you know. And if you run different states, you know, you apportion tag, and you do that, you have to go to the capital for that, you know, to get it, get apportion tags. And, you know, it's according to what you're gonna run in each state, and according to what you pay on your tags. Each state's got so much for running in their state for that year.
I don't know if I should say this or not, but a lot of truckers tag in Oklahoma because it's cheaper there.
Well, that's mostly on the road, in this
The
area.
over the road trucks, yeah.
Yeah, you know, you'll pay, because you don't have to pay, some of the taxes and stuff you do here.
Yeah, that property tax, I imagine, would make a big difference.
I found that it'll work out a whole lot better him working by himself rather than have an employee, because an employee costs you extra insurance money. It costs you more than likely, if he don't own the truck, he's not going to be so apt to take care of it. So he wants to haul as much weight as he possibly can because he gets paid on a percentage basis. So he's not going to take care of your truck. So you're going to have more breakdowns. You're going to have to pay more taxes on them. You have to pay so many different taxes on an employee and the insurance cost, and it's just cheaper to have one truck and have your spouse to drive it himself.
Yeah, and even then, it sounds like it's not, super easy.
No, by no means.
Well, you know, if you buy something, like say, everybody's gotta learn, if you buy a good truck first, and, you know, that's a big help right there, if you buy something that'll work every day, and you don't have to rebuild from end to end. And, I tried to get by cheap, my first one, you know, cheaper, and thought I was doing better, and really didn't know what I was doing. I should've bought a whole lot better truck, it would've helped a whole lot.
But the way of life around here is cold. And the driving community and the trucking community go hand in hand. So there has to be a common ground between the two for it to be safe and for us to survive too. That's not asking too much.
And that's good. In fact, basically talking about that's what people do around here.
Yeah, it's, you know, that's
The
main,
Talk some
main
about
thing.
that, what people do around here for a living.
the
But she's
driving
talking about the common
community
ground for the vehicles and the trucks
to be able to
ride
drive on the
together.
same highway and it be safe. They have to meet in a common ground somewhere because that's a means of survival for this area is coal. So the trucking community and the driving community have to come to a common ground somewhere to where safety isn't such an issue.
I see what you're saying. Are you saying that, like, basically this place people having money to even have cars around here is pretty much dependent on coal?
It's the means of survival around here. When coal business isn't good, there's not much economy at all around here.
Well, I mean, that pertains to everybody. When the coal business goes down, it goes through the workforce from one end to the other, you know, in this area.
So basically, what's good for drivers is good for the community.
Yeah,
What's good for the community is good for the drivers.
You know, in most cases, I mean, I agree with that.
We help pay black lung. Some of our tax money goes toward paying these guys their black lung and their social security, you know. We all have lived in a society that revolves around coal. This is our heritage. There has to be a common ground where our community is not dying and the trucking industry is not dying. They have to have us and we have to live with them.
Yeah, because I mean, like I say, it involves everybody. Even if you work at Walmart, if there's no money in the area, you ain't gonna, you know, that probably ain't gonna be much of a job for you there. Very few people's gonna work there.
And the Walmart wages are a lot lower than the wages at the mines.
You know,
Is it possible, you think, to get for them to work together? Like, and what would it take?
The coal operators paying the driver, the trucker, more money. Actually, it needs to be on a per mile tonnage basis instead of a per ton basis.
How would that work?
Gosh, you're going to give me a minute to think. Me and Roy discussed all this.
well, you'd have to gauge it
On the mileage of a coal haul, if you've got point A to point B, there should be a per mile ton that you get paid from getting from point A to point B instead of you getting paid on a percentage basis of the load of coal that you're hauling. The coal operators need to supply enough money for the trucker to survive legally. That way it will make the highway safer for people to drive on. And in order for the coal operators to have to start paying money, the enforcement needs to start enforcing the law. If they start enforcing the law, that means that truckers have to be legal and we can be safe to drive with. My kids drives on this road. I drive on this road. I'm scared of trucks. They scare me to death. And I own one myself, but yet they terrify me.
What does that feel like?
Hell,
Hell on wheels.
yeah, for real.
I'm joking.
That's a good bag knocker. That's a good trucking company name. Hell on Wheels Trucking.
Well, I've seen flat rope trucking here in the last little bit.
Tough Time Trucking will
Tough
be
time.
good.
I mean, no, hard times. That's what the old guys up there takes railroad tracks up. I believe that hard times trucking is what he's kind of his name is, you know. I don't know. There's a lot of issues needs to be looked at, and a lot of things, you know, that needs to be looked at. You got the safety aspect of it, and you know,
if they were to enforce the laws, there would be fewer accidents. So eventually, in the long run, the insurance policies would decrease. Because over the years, we've seen a steady increase because of the magnitude of accidents that's happened in this area involving heavy trucks.
That probably does. I know insurance is way higher here than in other states.
The insurance right lately has went up dramatically in this area. Just like on a coal truck, it's went up a lot, and when you get a raise on that insurance, just like we pay a lot more here in eastern Kentucky because of the amount it's lost here than we do than the other parts of the state. I mean, in other parts of the country, we just pay a lot more insurance.
All around homeowners insurance too.
Yeah.
I've heard.
We need to make the same amount of money we're making now. Damn, that don't make no sense. We need to be legal and make the same amount of money that we're making now. That would help us out tremendously. We could afford fuel. We could afford insurance. And enforcing the weight limits would be the only way that this could possibly happen. It would make just community driving safer. It would make us have fewer breakdowns. It would cost us less fuel. It would just help out every aspect. It would help out. It would be safer, and yet we could survive. It would be good for everybody.
So what's keeping it from happening then?
The law's not being enforced. If they would set example and enforce some laws and start doing it on a regular basis, they couldn't play truckers amongst each other, because bigger trucking industry can go and bid a coal haul cheap because they've got bigger trailers to haul with. They've got newer trucks to haul with. They can haul more weight. Therefore, they can haul it. They buy their fuel in bulk. They buy their parts in bulk. If a rear end goes out, they have an extra rear end sitting on the side to put in because they can buy at a cheaper price if you buy more than one item at a time. We independent owners cannot do that. So they get a break every which way. But the independent driver or the truck owner cannot do that.
It's just like any other business.
We work on credit. They work on cash.
When you're in, say, in a trucking company that can buy 100, 150 to 200 tires at a time, I mean, now, if you're a salesman now, who you gonna want to sell to? The old guy here that's buying, you know, 2 tires here and 2 tires there, you know, every once in a while, or you gonna go away that guy that's gonna buy 150 tires at a time, you know, I mean, you gonna give him a break and try to get his business in every way you can, because, I mean, he's a big customer. And, you know, when you start looking at $100,000 and you're looking at $1,000, you know, you want that guy that's gonna pay $100,000 in business more than you want the other guy.
When I first started doing research on all this, when I started getting the maddest, the reasoning for my doing it was because I was mad. I was mad at a system that has failed me. I mean, that it should not have happened. And that's what my biggest anger was until I met Roy. And then he made me realize that all the money in the world cannot buy back a loved one. He lost his child with an illegal coal truck. That should not have happened. And I sit and I think every day, if my truck is involved with an accident, that a fatality stems from that, how could I live with myself the rest of my life? But yet, if I don't work, my livelihood, my kids should be enjoying their youth right now. Instead, they're worrying about mommy's and daddy's financial situation and as to why they can't have extra things when I'm having a hard time supplying their needs, let alone their wants. There's nothing more I would love than to be able to buy my 17-year-old daughter a car. That's not too much to ask. She's a good kid. She makes good grades in school. And I want to buy her a car. And I'll be lucky to keep mine. Oh my God, don't even start with that. You don't want to know what's on his mind.
Well, I do want to talk to you all some more, like probably after I get back from Argentina.
That wasn't so bad. Are you off now?
I'm still rolling, but I can stop it now if you want me to. Want me to stop it?
Well, no, I mean, it's up to you. I'm just going to bullshit with you about you being a spoiled shit. Oh boy, got it made.
I feel that way sometimes.
Well, that's good though that you know you have